things aren't always going to look how you want them to look. There's not always going to be some perfect time to start doing whatever it is that you want to do. I see a lot of individuals, and I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of individuals around you that never seem to get started off on the things that they want to do for a myriad of excuses. Like, oh, I can't go to the gym yet because I don't have any valid shoes for the gym, or I don't have enough workout clothes, or I need these lifting straps, or I need this gym membership specifically. The longer you make excuses like that for yourself, the more of a disservice that you're doing yourself, because you're preventing the beginning of your journey. All those things are gonna come, but I feel like we live in a day and age now to where everybody's so obsessed with the aesthetic of how something looks that they kind of become afraid to look non-aesthetically pleasing to another individual when they're trying to get their shit together. You're trying to get your shit together. You're not going to look like the person that squats 300 pounds in Nike Blazers and a Gymshark tee when you first start going to the gym. You're not. Regardless if you dress like him or not, you're still not going to look like him. Now, there's nothing wrong with, taking advantage of the idea of walking into a certain energy. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't let it be the excuse or the reason as to why you don't start. Aesthetic can be a very, very powerful tool. How you perceive yourself can be a very powerful tool. If you get really nice looking equipment and you feel better about yourself, you are going to perform better on average. But it only does so much if you don't put in the work to begin with. So don't become so obsessed with the idea of like, damn, I want to start this business, but I gotta have this iPad or this. You're procrastinating. You're finding reasons to put it off for fears that you don't want to admit. There's never going to be a perfect time to ever start anything. There's never going to be a perfect time. If you're always waiting for there to be a perfect time, there will never be a perfect time. When that perfect time arrives, you'll find a reason as to why it's not the perfect time. There's never going to be a perfect time. You have to learn to just nut up or shut up and make the time. If you want to start that business and you know that there's a certain tool that you'll need, unless you desperately need it, and even if you do desperately need it, there's always something else you can do until you get the thing you need. If you want to design hoodies and you want to draw on your iPad, before you draw on your iPad, you could still draw on a sketchbook. You could still come up with ideas. You could still do brand research. You could still start building the culture around your brand. What's your target audience? There's a million things that you can do once you decide to start. But the thing is, if you fixate on all the things that you can't do, you'll never start. If you continue to constantly fixate on the things that you aren't able to do yet because you aren't meeting your own prerequisites, then you'll never start. Allow yourself to really just look ugly sometimes. Allow yourself to really look like you're on your shit, like you're grinding. It's not always gonna look pretty. You're not always gonna look like the models on Instagram. You're not always gonna look like the cream of the crop. The reality is, when you're getting your life together, when you're putting your affairs in order, or when you're starting out on a new journey, you're not gonna look elite right away. If you play any game like Dark Souls, Borderlands, any type of game where there's a ranking system, you don't start out well off at all. You start out at the bottom of the bottom and you build your way up. And as you progress in the game, you start getting better resources. Better resources are able to be allocated towards you. But when you first start the game, some resources are locked. Some resources aren't even locked, but you can't even buy them because you can't afford them with whatever in-game currency there is. And you just have to make do with what you have. And you figure out a way to do that. If you only had $100 left in your bank account for the week, you're gonna find a way to make do with that. So if you only have a laptop and a pair of headphones and you want to start a music career, find a way to make do with that. If you want to start a clothing brand and you only have a laptop and a shitty internet connection, find a way to make do with that. At the end of the day, there are people doing a lot more with a lot less. And I'm not saying this to kind of scare you and make you feel insecure about yourself, but I'm saying it to let you know that what you're trying to do is not that out of reach. You're making it out of reach by giving yourself all these unnecessary prerequisites. You don't need to have X, Y, and Z to start. X, Y, and Z will help you. It will get you further along your path, but to start, it's rare that you actually need X, Y, and Z. There's always something you can do. You could plan, you could structure, There's something you can do. So going forward, the thing that I want you to take away from this is to remember to just start somewhere. Starting somewhere is better than not starting at all. Don't be the person that says, yeah, bro, like I got this idea to do X, Y, and Z, but like, you know, I just Don't be that person. Because you don't like being that person. Nobody likes being the person that's always telling everybody else why you haven't started all the things you've been talking about. And stop talking about the things that you want to start doing. If you know that you want to do X, Y, and Z, but you don't have the things that you need to do them yet, then stop telling people. Unless they're helping you along the way, unless they're providing you with what you need, stop telling them what you're trying to do. Because the only thing that you're doing is putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. Because then when that person comes around, they're like, oh, what's going on with X, Y, and Z? You don't have an answer. And the reason you don't have an answer is because you know that you haven't started yet, because there are things that you needed first. But you got so excited that you jumped the gun and you told everybody. It happens. It's a normal thing. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. It's great when you have good people around you that will hold you accountable and really track your goals with you. But if you're not ready, stop saying it. If you're not really about it, stop saying it, because you're just doing yourself a disservice. You're hurting your own self. You're making yourself feel like you're not worthy or able to accomplish anything, because every time people check in on you, you're just known as the guy that's talking all that shit but not doing anything. Don't be that person. Put in the work. Start somewhere. Even if you don't want to sometimes, trust me, start somewhere. You'll feel a lot better about yourself if you just start somewhere.